that how do I access? Let me show you. System dot out dot println. S1 dot rate, no problem. S2 dot rate, no problem. But it's a bad practice. It's a very, very bad practice to access static member with the object. Always access object with the class name. So saving account dot rate. Correct. So how do you access static member? Class name dot member.
And sir, how to update that?
How to update? I
Yes.
can say saving dot account rate is equal to $12. Now, this is something not correct actually. You know that rate of interest should be constant. No one should be able to change it. No one should be able to change it. So whatever has happened in our program, that is bad. Huh? So how will you stop that? Being a developer, how will you stop that?
Private.
You have two requirements. No, wait.
Constant.
Okay, chalo, private. If I make it private, huh?
Constant.
Private means you cannot access. You cannot access. But it's not that you can't change. Private means you cannot access, but it does not mean you can't change. So private at present is not a solution.
Constant.
See, you have two requirements. As far as rate is concerned, you have two requirements. Try to understand that first. Rate shouldn't be different for different objects. So we have made static. At the same time, rate is such that we will initialize and the same value we will use. Nobody should be able to change that. Nobody should be able to change that. So for that, we have to add one more keyword, final. In Java, final means constant. So combination of final and static. Static means shared by all the objects and final means cannot be changed. So now if you make it final and if you try to change here, you will get error. Cannot assign to final variable. Yeah. Now, this is one thing. Second.
Hello, sir. Can't we use constant setting?
Const, no. You can't use const keyword. It's final.
And so it is always compulsory that we need to define a value to static member while initializing.
It's a good practice because see now final must be initialized. Huh? Final must be initialized. But even though you don't have final, you will just have static. It's a good practice to initialize rate of interest because you want to somewhere make it fixed that rate of interest is 8. Tomorrow if rate of interest is change, you will change here. But how will you ensure that it cannot be changed? It should not be changed. It's not recommended to be changed. No. But if someone tries to change, how will you ensure that final? How will you stop that final? So final means constant. Now, what we have been doing till now, since yesterday we have been accessing, we have been creating objects and we have been calling setter and getter methods, right now? Now just imagine one thing about saving account S1. You have created object, you have assigned SSID, you have assigned name, balance, and then after some time, what if someone goes and says S1 dot set balance 0. what will happen? Sorry, S1 dot set balance. S1 dot balance is equal to S1 dot balance is equal to 0. Zero. So this should be avoided. We have to ensure that this will not happen. How will you ensure that this will not happen?
Using binary.
Yeah. So balance, name, SSID, all these instance members must be private. Data security. That is the basic requirement of object-oriented programming. So whenever you define any instance members, they should be private. Always remember. So private members cannot be accessible outside the class. How outsider can access private members? Indirectly using setter and getter methods, the way we are doing in main function. Even this is private final static int rate. So now if you make it private, what will happen to your code? This is not there in the code. But then rate of interest is private. So that means you cannot access. If you try to access, what error you will get? Private access. So what will you do? What have you done for instance members? These instance members cannot be accessible in the main function. For them, you have got setter and getter method. Now setter method allows you to set the value and getter method allows you to read the value. But rate is such, we don't want user to set. So we will not provide setter method, but at least we can provide getter method. And that getter method will also be static. Static methods are used to access static members. Static int get rate. Return rate. So here, sorry, this is not allowed. How can you print? Saving account dot get rate. Notice saving account dot get rate. Class name dot method. All other setter and getter methods you are invoking using object because they are non-static. But static is the one which should be accessed with the class name. So saving account dot get rate. Okay. Static int get rate. Okay. Any question on the static so far? This static concept is same across all object-oriented programming languages. Wherever you go, C++, Java, C#, Python, etc. Static concept is same.
So static method only access static variable only.
That's a different discussion. Since you have asked, I would like to discuss that. Back in day 2, we have that. Static and non-static relationship. Yeah, here we are. But before I show you that file, let us discuss static and non-static. Static method can access non-static members. Non-static means non-static. Can access static. This is number one. Non-static method. Can access non-static. Can access static. Okay. Now, I would like to give you some time to think. Here, yes or no, yes or no, yes or no, yes or no. Huh? So you think over it and then give me answer. One, two, three, four.
No, yes.
Yes.
Here what?
Yes,
No.
yes.
Achha, some
Yes.
people are saying yes.
Yes. No.
Yes.
Yes.
Is anybody saying no?
Last
Yes.
we know, sir.
Okay, I guess somebody is saying no
No,
also.
sir. No, sir.
No, sir. No,
Okay,
sir.
okay,
No, sir.
okay, okay. Second,
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes.
यहाँ पे कोई no है क्या? नहीं ना? What about this?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
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 यहाँ पे कोई yes है?
Yes.
Yes,
No.
sir.
Yes.
sir.
Yes.
Yes,
Sir.
sir.
Okay, I can,
Yes.
I can hear,
Yes.
I can hear yes also. Okay, okay.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Now correct answer. Correct answer.
No. Yes. Yes.
Yes, yes, and
No.
yes.
Yes. No.
Yes.
Yes.
No, yes, yes, yes. Now, if you just try to memorize, static method can access non-static. No.
No.
Static method can access static. Yes.
Yes.
Non-static method can access non-static. Yes.
Yes.
Non-static method can access static. Yes.
Yes.
Huh? Yes. It will be very difficult for you if you try to just memorize that. You will forget 101%. But if you try to understand with the reason, you will never forget. You will never forget. So let us try to understand why static method cannot access non-static. When you call static method, what is the requirement? Requirement is you need not create any object. In order to call static method, you need not create any object. And if you're not created any object, how can you access non-static members? If you're not created any object, how can you access non-static members? So that is the reason. Static method can access static, yes. Very simple. Just a moment. People don't mute themselves. So many people are not unmute. Ajay, Arun, Devansh. Mute karo. Static can access non-static. No. Because in order to call static member, you don't have to create object. When object has not yet created, how come non-static members are there? Non-static members will not be there. So obviously no. Static method can access static, yes. Non-static method can access non-static, yes, obviously yes. Huh? Non-static method can access static, yes. Now think, in order to call non-static method, what is required?
Create an
Object needs to be created.
Yes.
In order to call non-static method, object needs to be created. And by that time, static member or members have been allocated memory. By the time you create object, static members have been allocated memory. So that's why non-static can access static. Now, if you understand with this logic, with this concept, you will never forget. If you just memorize yes and no, your yes and no will go for a toss at the time of interview. And this is one important question which can be asked in the interview. Can non-static access static, or can static access non-static? I think I have given it with the reason here, day 2. Static and non-static relationship. Yeah, see here. The same thing I have mentioned. Go through it. So in this example, you have understood private accessibility modifier also in Java. Whenever you define a class, whenever you define instance members or class variables, that is static variables, they have to be private. So that they cannot be accessible from the outside of the class. That is data hiding. Okay, done.